Hello, welcome to Ian's Bricks, and today I'm going to be talking about my recent experience at the Torquay Brick Festival. I was there as a trader. It was just over a week ago, Sunday the 3rd of August 2025, I've done quite a few brick festivals this year, and this was a location, I think it was the first time they'd been in Torquay. I have been to Torquay before, but not for brick shows, many years ago. It is a place, a very nice part of the world. It's called the English Riviera. If you're not familiar with sort of South Devon, it is a very popular location for people to go on holiday and things like that. It's a very nice part of the world. So anyway, I digress. But this was a brick show that I wasn't quite sure how busy it would be, because obviously it was in the summer, and you do tend to find that some of the summer shows tend not to be quite as busy as some of the maybe spring and autumn shows, but then it's an area where there's a lot of holiday makers and a lot of other people as well. So I wasn't quite sure how it was going to be. I actually decided, because I'd got my car packed on the Saturday evening, around about 4 p.m. I'd finished everything. I'm thinking, oh, I've finished a lot quicker than I normally am. And I had a look to see if there were any cheap hotels. There's loads of guest houses and hotels in and around Torquay area. And I literally managed to find one that was pretty much just across the road from where the venue is at I think it was the Riviera International Centre was the name of the venue, and I managed to find a hotel across the road. It was only a single room, but it was for £47.50, which was a very good deal. And to get that on the day, I literally booked it about 4 or 5 o'clock that evening, drove over, took to Torquay. It took me about 2.5 hours in my car full of packed of Lego, of course, and it was a good call at the end of the day. Yes, it's an extra £47.50 that out of my sort of profit, but I did have a fairly good night's sleep, and it means I didn't have to get up at ridiculous o'clock to set off to get to the venue for sort of 7:30, which is when we can get to these venues for. So I woke up fairly bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, as it were, on the Sunday morning. It was a very pleasant day weather-wise, the venue is basically, it reminded me a little bit of the Bournemouth International Centre. This is called the Riviera National Centre. Similar-ish kind of building, not quite as big, and I think a little bit older as well. It certainly was a rather dull and sort of grey-looking building from the outside, but once inside it was fine, and I got set up as normal, and the day went a lot busier than I thought it would be. There was certainly a lot of people in at the 10 o'clock early bird tickets, quite a few people queuing outside before the start of the day, and then at 11 o'clock and then 12 o'clock we did get another influx of people as well. So it was nice and busy. There were around about 20 other traders there, so obviously you've always got competition when you go to these festivals of how many other traders there are going to be, but it's not as much as some of the other shows. I remember I went to one at Exeter earlier in the year, and I counted around about 40 traders there, so there certainly weren't as many traders at Torquay as there were at some other events. So that means obviously there's less Lego for people to buy, the day for me went very well. So what did I take with me? I take generally sealed Lego sets. I always have some extra smaller sets like poly bags and things like that. I tend not to count those when I'm sort of working these out. I just have like bags of poly bags, and as my table gets empty I'll put these poly bags out. But I generally basically sell sealed Lego sets, from the really large ones, say like a modular building or a large vehicle, or some of the Bricklink sets, to sort of smaller, £10 sets, promo sets, things like that. So there's a variety of different sets that I take. In total, I took 188 sets. Now, that's quite a lot more sets than I would normally take, and I think the reason for that is I did take considerably more medium to smaller size sets rather than taking loads and loads of large sets. The reason for that is because I wasn't quite sure how this show would go. And you tend to find if it's going to be a quieter show, you're going to struggle to sell those sort of high-end, these larger sets. Yes, I had a few larger sets with me, but generally I wanted to avoid that and take lots of medium to smaller size sets. So I took 188 sets, and during the day of those sets I sold 69 of them, which means that I had 119 left. How does that compare with other shows? It did see, when I worked out the figures, I thought, oh, is that all I sold? I think it is a little bit less than I would normally sell. I would normally try and sell, half to slightly more than half of the sets that I take. Again, you can only sell what people will buy from you. But actually, it turned out that it wasn't that bad a return. I did sell some big sets at the end of the day. There were 4 sets that I sold that were more than £100. And again, when I go to shows, normally I've got a lot more of these larger sets. So that means I had to sell more of the smaller sets. But one of the big sets that I sold, the biggest set that I sold was 910034, and that was one of the Bricklink designer program sets. That was the Brick Cross Station. That was the first time I'd taken this to this show, and I kind of didn't know I had the set somewhere. And I kind of, when I was searching for stuff to take, I found it in my attic. I'm like, oh, must take that because it's been a while since I've had that. So not a greatest profit on that one. I bought it for £230. Obviously, when I bought it, I would have got insiders points and things like that. I sold it for £295. The reason I sold it at £295, I wanted to keep it below that sort of £300 threshold. But luckily, someone was quite keen on it, and they bought it, saying not the greatest profit in the world. I've not had it for that long, so it's not too bad. But I'm finding that these Bricklink designer program sets, they're not really going for big bucks these days, and they're not appreciating value a great deal. And I'm not stopped buying them altogether, but I'm certainly not buying as many as I first did, because they're just not really reaping the rewards in the short space, which is what I thought they would do. But anyway, I think the guy that got it was really, really keen on the set. I gave him a look at the box before he bought it, and I think he was very, very happy with that. I did sell another Bricklink set as well, 910033. That was the old train station, that was a train yard, wasn't it? Yeah, and that was I sold that for £210. Much smaller profit on that one. I bought that for £190. I think they had it on slightly higher than that, but the guy sort of bartered a little bit, and he had cash. So I said, oh, you know what, for a cash sale, I'll take £210. So I did take £210 on that. Again, not much of a profit on that one at all, really. But it means that I've sold it on, and I can spend that money on buying something else. A couple of other sets I sold. 75335, the BD1 from Star Wars. I actually sold that for £150. I bought that just under £100, so not a bad profit on that one. That has increased in value quite a lot recently, that set. I know I was taking these to shows earlier on this year, and they were selling for around about 115, but to sell it for 150, I did sort of think, oh, is that a little bit high? But that seems to be what they were going for, and it did sell quite quickly. So very, very pleased that one did sell for that value. And then the final set over £100 was 75980, Harry Potter Attack at the Burrow. That's the older style Burrow set, which is the retired set. I sold that for £120. I think originally that cost me £90. I've still had a few of those. I think that's the last one of those that I had. They haven't really increased much in value, those sets. Harry Potter sets, the larger ones, that's not done particularly well. It's done okay, but not great. So I was kind of pleased to sort of sell that one on, because I don't think that one's going to appreciate in value too much more. That means, of course, that I did sell quite a lot of smaller sets, and some of the sets I did take with me, I did have quite a lot of multiples. So this is where I have more than one of each set, and what's quite nice about a set where I've got multiples, I'll put that set out on my stall. If that set sells, then I've got something to replace it with straight away. I can just replace it with the same thing, and I'll kind of know in my head when I'm selling sets, I'll know what I've got and which duplicates I've got. So there was a couple of sets that went very, very quickly. 40788, and that's the Friendly Snails. This was a promo set earlier this year, not that long ago. Seems to be very, very popular. I mean, I like the set, but I didn't sort of rate it crazy good, but I sold them for £32, so not a bad price for those kind of promo sets. And I literally, one of the first sets that I sold it straight away. I put another one out, and within about 10 minutes that second one had gone. I think I only got 3 of those ever in total, so I've only got 1 more left of those. I'm hoping they're sets that come out again at some stage. I know they've just re-released the upscaled baby Spaceman, the red Spaceman set, so they may do that with the snails as well. Interestingly, at the last show I sold 3 of those spacemen. I took 2 to this show, didn't sell any of them, and I'd reduced the price a bit as well. I had seen the price of those coming down slightly. I think the last show I sold 3 of them for £34 each. I had them on at £32 each. People were picking it up and looking at it, but didn't sell a single one. And this is how shows go sometimes. You've got no idea what will be popular, what will sell well in one show, won't sell in the next show, and vice versa. You can take sets 2 or 3 times to a show, they don't sell, and then you'll sell an item, you'll have one with you, you'll sell it, and then 10 minutes later someone says, oh, have you still got that so-and-so set? And you're like, I've literally been taking that to like 10 shows and no one's been interested in it. That's how shows go sometimes. You can't call it. So that was one of the weird things. Another set that I sold 3 of, and again, I've never managed to sell any of these, 40765, the Camino Training Facility. This is a set that was a promo at the beginning of May, and again, I'd taken these to lots of other shows. I think I had them on at a slightly higher price to start with, and they weren't selling. The last show I took them, I had them on at £28, didn't sell a single one, no interest at all. This time I reduced it to £25. I took 3 of the sets, and all 3 of them sold. So again, another one of those weird quirks. Yes, I'd reduced the price slightly because I thought maybe it's a little bit higher. I checked eBay sold prices and things weren't quite going close to £30, it was closer to sort of 25. So yeah, obviously I got the prices right on that one. Not a problem, I've got quite a few more of those, so I'll be taking those extra sets that I've got to upcoming shows. But again, just very, very weird how you can have a set, you don't sell a single one for the last 3 or 4 shows, and then you take it to one show at the right price and people will buy them. Now, I've got 2 sets behind me which you can probably see, and I had a little bit of a competition with these sets. So you may have seen in earlier videos that I've been I had a supplier that's managed to get hold of some of these sets in bulk, and it's the 40585, the World of Wonders, and also the 40548, which is the Spice Girls brickheads. Get them so you can see them without the light. There we go. So I've managed to pick up these quite cheap. I was picking these Spice Girls sets up for £8 each, and I was picking up the World of Wonder for £10 each. And I thought, I've got loads of these, I need to really start trying to get rid of some of these. So I decided to put them both on at £20. Now, £20, especially for this Spice Girls set, is a very, very good price. I think I took them to my last show and I was trying to sell them for 30 and I only sold 1. And yes, if I'd probably hold that, I could probably sell them for more if I really, really wanted. You can pardon the pun. But I thought, you know what, I bought them for just over £8 each. I think if I try and sell them on for 20 and see how they go, and boy did they go. I literally sold all 6 of the ones that I took. I also took 6 of these World of Wonder as well, and although they didn't go quite as well, I did end up selling 3 of these. Slightly less profit on these because I bought these for £10 each. There was certainly more profit in Spice Girls, and of course you can see the size of the set as well. It is a much bigger set, the Spice Girls sets. It's not a surprise that I was able to sell more of those than these. It is generally ladies that like to buy the Spice Girls set. Obviously it's got more of an appeal, I suppose, all girl power, all that kind of stuff, but yeah, they are popular sets at that price. And again, I could probably sell them a little bit higher, but I don't think I'll be able to sell that many. I'm probably going to continue to keep selling them at that price until I've only, say, got a few left, and then I'll probably, once they've become a little bit rarer and I don't have many left, I'll probably hike the price up at a later date. But again, I'm fairly happy with the profit. Yeah, I could probably take more if I held out, but I'll be hanging on to the sets forever and ever. I've got so many of them, I did want to just try and get rid of some of them. So yeah, if you're coming to an upcoming show that I'm going to, keep an eye out for those, because I'll have both of these on. I'll probably keep them both at those prices for the not too distant future. Of course, there were loads of other sets that I sold as well, a few other duplicates and a few other promo sets and things like that. And of course, I know what a lot of people want to know is how did the day go for me financially? How well did I do? How does it compare to other shows? So here are the numbers then. So in total, I took on the day £2,483. Broken down, I took £1,984, that's 80%, I took on credit card, and £499 in cash, which is 20%. So fairly average split for cash and card. It's normally 25-75, that kind of figure there. So 20%, 80% is kind of what I'd be expecting. And the amount that I got, 2,483, very, very similar to my last 4 or 5 shows. That seems to be the standard average this year for me. I've had much better shows earlier on in the year. I had some crazy shows where I got sort of twice as much as that. However, I think sort of as a long-term thing on shows which are good but not crazy busy, I think that is a very good return for me. It helps, obviously. I sold a couple of those larger sets, a couple of those Bricklink sets. That did obviously help. Without those, I would have been way down on takings for the day. But all in all, I was fairly pleased with how that went. And of course, don't forget, I wasn't quite sure how this show would go. I was very sort of not nervous, but I was very apprehensive about how it would be. I thought I'd be taking a lot less than that. So from my point of view, I thought it was a successful show based on the time of year and possibly the location as well. However, that's not all profit. That's just my take-ins for the day. There are costs involved. And there are quite a few costs as well. So I'll break down the costs for you. And of course there will be extra costs as well. I'll talk about all of that in a second. But the sets that I sold, they cost me £1,581 and a few pence. So that's not all of the sets that I took with me. That is just the sets that I sold on the day. That's how much those individual sets cost me. Yes, some of those sets were free because they were promo sets. Most of the sets weren't. I actually paid for them at some stage, whether I bought them at an auction or online or had them for a couple of years or from Bricklink, wherever I bought them from. 1,581. So you can see straight away that's eaten straight into my profits because obviously that's how much the sets cost me. There's also the cost of the tables as well. So whenever I go to these brick festivals, I generally have 2 front tables and 1 backing table. In total, it cost me £170. I think the front tables cost around about £65 to £70 each. You also pay a deposit at the start of the year, which is taken off your total, and then the backing table costs £20 as well. So yeah, around about £170 for the tables that I've got. So a lot of people sort of say when you go to these shows, oh, a lot of people are sort of expensive and this, that and the other, not as cheap as eBay. The costs, the charges that we have to charge at these shows have to be reasonable for us to recoup our money and our costs. Yeah, you have eBay fees and things like that if you sell on eBay or Marketplace or wherever. However, you've got to bear that in mind that all of these traders have got to make money and make a profit. Yes, I'd probably make more money if I put my prices up, but then I wouldn't be happy with that. And I like to have my prices still at a reasonable level, but obviously I still need to make sure I make a profit as well. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it. And I know I do it for the fun and this, that and the other, but I still obviously want to make some money at this particular thing. So, yes, £170 is quite a big chunk of whatever you're taking on a day, especially if you have a poor day. But I say, my days recently haven't been too bad. There was also petrol, so it's quite a long way for me to get to Torquay, around about 2.5 hours by car. It's not the greatest distance in the world, just the roads are very slow. My first bit of the journey sort of through Bournemouth, through Dorset on the A35, if you've ever driven on that road. It's quite a pretty route. There's some very nice scenery along the way, but it's very stop-start, down to 30 miles an hour, back up to 50, down to 30, go through all the little villages and things. So it's a very slow route. Once you get to Honiton and then Exeter, it goes into dual carriageway and motorway, so it's a little bit better after that. But yeah, about a 2.5 hour journey on a good day, so it's quite a long way to go. So £30 in petrol or gas if you're in the States. But of course we had the hotel as well, so yes, it was very welcome, but of course that's £47.50 eaten into my profits. Now unfortunately the hotel had car parking charges. Boo! I always try and avoid car parking charges if ever I can help it because I'm very tight, but unfortunately, and I could have left my car on the street, but I didn't want to. It was full of Lego. I managed to get a really good space at the back of the car park that had security cameras and things like that. And it did cost me £9. Ouch. That hurt, that did. £9 to park overnight. But of course I did know that the car was secure, and I was able to park it back up against a wall as well, so even if somebody did try and break in or smash a window, they wouldn't be able to get into the trunk or the boot of the car. So yeah, there were extra costs there as well. Now unfortunately there was also then parking the next day at the Riviera Centre as double whammy. Yes, I had to pay for 2 lots of parking. That really hurt. It really hurts me when I have to pay for parking. So that was another £8.50. So in total I spent £17.50 on parking. Boo. Which I know isn't great. I know, for example, when I go to the Bournemouth International Centre for the Bournemouth Brick Festival in September, I think that costs around about £22-24 for the day. So kind of, it's all relative. Look, these car parking places, they are what they are. I could probably have found somewhere else cheaper or free if I knew the area or whatever. But sometimes it's just easier just to pay it. It's less hassle. You don't really start moving your car around and worrying where your car is if it's on a dodgy side street. So yeah, one of those things. They're just unnecessary costs that I don't like paying. Also, there are credit card costs as well. So anything I take on the credit card reader, I have to pay 1.69%. That's my sum up card reader, which I don't think is too bad really, saying the amount of money I take. But on sales on the card of £1,984, I meant my card costs were £33.53. So they are all the general costs for the actual show. Now potentially there are more costs. I obviously use some bags, I use stationery, you know, all this kind of stuff. I haven't included anything for that because I didn't actually buy anything for this show in particular, but obviously I am using stuff. And also you've got to think about VAT as well. At the end of the tax year I have to add up all the money that I've taken at all the shows, and I will have to pay a little bit of money towards that as well. So I haven't included that just because at the moment I don't know what that's going to be. Probably fairly small amount because I do invest all my money back into buying Lego again, which are costs which I don't have to sort of include. But there are obviously some other costs as well and charges which I've not really factored into this, but I wanted to keep it relatively simple. So in total my costs were £1,879.86, and that means that my net profit for the show, minus of course any future costs, was £603.14. Very, very similar-ish, a little bit more, but very similar to what I took at the last show that I went to. Interestingly, I took more money at that show, but I had a slightly better profit at this one. Again, not the greatest to profit, and I said in my last video at the last show that you know, one of the reasons for that, I think it was the Brighton show, wasn't it, was because I've been spending quite a lot of money on the sets I've been taking with me. The Bricklink sets don't make me a lot of profit. Anything I buy from auction, that has a lower profit margin as well. So yeah, so why am I taking these sets? Well, it's because I don't really want to sell the sets that I got last year and the year before that. I'm trying to hang on to those a little bit longer so they will appreciate in value a little bit more. I mean, the BD one is a great example. Of the 4 sets of those that I bought, I've sold all of those now, but now that set is really starting to appreciate in value. So maybe I sold them a little bit early, but this is it. I want to hang on to some of those sets a little bit longer, get them to appreciate, but of course that does mean the sets that I'm selling now, I'm kind of not making as much profit as I potentially could if I'd have hung on to those sets a little bit longer. But it's still a profit. And of course the whole thing about making money at shows is all the money that I make, and yes, there's a small amount of profit in there, but I can then reinvest that. And as we get into September and October, when all the good deals come around and we get into Black Friday, I've hopefully got some funds available that I can actually start spending and take advantage of all those deals and discounts and things like that. So it's just my way really of just sort of moving my money and just keep, you know, appreciating it. And of course, yes, it's all about making a bit of money at these shows, but I have to say that I always do really, really enjoy them as well. And of course I've got the YouTube as well, and people watch the videos. I make a little bit of money off those videos as well. That always helps. Yeah, I just enjoy going to these shows. I like playing shopkeeper. Obviously people recognise me. Quite a few people came up to me at the show and said hello, and even got a couple of selfies as well, which is always very much appreciated. I know people don't like to ask some sometimes, but I really, at this particular stage in my YouTube career, I really don't mind selfies. I think they're very nice. I'm always quite flattered when someone is wanting to sort of take a picture. Yeah, that's always kind of the nice part of doing this kind of thing. And they can be very, very long days, these shows, you know, early starts, and then got to drive home at the end of the day, unpack the car when I get home, which is my least favourite thing to do. So there's all these sort of parts of the day, makes it a very, very long day, but meeting everybody, making a bit of profit, selling a load of sets, going back with less sets than you came with. That's kind of what it's all about for me, and that's why I enjoy it. Of course, I don't do this as a full-time job. I do have a job as well, so I've got a 9-to-5 job, although I'm only working 4 days a week at the moment. That helps a little bit, so I've got a day free to prepare for shows as and when they come round. Yeah, this I wouldn't want to sort of do this, I don't think, every single day of every weekend. I know there are some sellers there that do this as a full-time, and they do Saturday and Sunday shows. For me, I do like to enjoy my weekends. My last weekend, I had a bit of a free weekend where I had a really nice weekend doing other stuff as well. So it's not all about, for me, doing shows all the time. Having said that, though, I do have a show coming up this weekend, which is a relatively local one for me, and it's in Portsmouth, and it's at the Mountbatten Leisure Centre. This will be the 3rd time I've been to the Portsmouth Mountbatten Centre for a Lego brick show. Portsmouth's around about an hour's drive away from me, so no overnight stays for that one. I'm not sure, again, how busy this will be. There have been other shows in and around the Portsmouth area before. We're obviously in the middle of summer. Probably Portsmouth is a lot less of a sort of touristy hotspot than, say, Torquay is, for example. And also the weather forecast for this weekend is pretty hot. We've got a little bit of a heat wave at the moment here in the UK, and maybe that will keep people away. I've found that whenever the weather does sort of get to that period where it's pretty warm, pretty hot, people generally stay away from these shows. So again, I'm not expecting this show to be particularly lucrative. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. But if you are going to the Portsmouth Brick Festival this Sunday, do come up and say hello. Even if you don't buy anything from me, you don't have to buy anything. You can if you want, of course, but you don't have to. It'll be lovely to see you there, and we'll see how that compares to the show that I did earlier. I think it was in February. That was crazy busy, that show. It's not going to meet that. I know it's not going to happen, but yeah, looking forward to that one there. And I've got more shows coming up later in the year as well. The one after that, I think, is in Bournemouth, another local one, and that's on the 6th of September, so that's a few weeks away yet. But Portsmouth is my next brick festival. So I've got some preparation to do between now and Sunday for the Portsmouth show. I'll be taking quite a few more of these 2 sets here, and hopefully I'll be able to sell a few more of those. So if you are going and you want these sets, I'll be bringing a few of these, so don't worry if you don't see one on the table early on, because it may have been sold and whatever, that I might need to replace it, because obviously it's just me on the table, it's just me doing these stalls, and I have to replace things whenever I get time. It's not always possible, but yeah, so that is how the Torquay Brick Festival went. I thought, as the shows go, it was a nice show. I think people enjoyed it. The venue was interesting because you had the traders downstairs and an upstairs bit where some of the activities were. It was busy, but it never got horrendously busy, so it's quite nice in that respect. And yeah, the weather generally behaved itself. I think we had a little bit of rain on the day, but not much, and the journey home for me was pretty good. And yes, a small amount of profit, not the greatest in the world, certainly not enough for me to retire on just yet, but all in all, I thought it was a pretty good show, and I really enjoyed it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed me rabbiting on for the last half an hour or so about the Torquay Brick Festival. Thank you very, very much for watching, as always. There'll be some more videos coming soon. I've got another haul to do soon, so keep an eye out for that. And of course, I'll be going to the Portsmouth Brick Festival on Sunday, so there'll be a video about that as well. So thank you for watching. Take care until the next video. We'll see you very, very soon. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching.